Hello everybody, welcome back, and I've got to really focus on the right camera here because I've got two cameras and I keep on looking at the big Canon camera, Canon camera. Welcome back to the podcast. If you're watching, you would have seen that goof. But yes, we're back with another edition of the podcast, the Battle Row and Beyond podcast, which you can find on Spotify, iTunes podcast, SoundCloud, wherever, YouTube, you can find us. As always, each and every week, I am joined by my, and it is glamorous in a physical sense because I can see you now, my glamorous co-host Dan of Frontline MCOC, who you can find at www.frontlinemcoc.home.blog, also under the handle at frontlinemcoc on Twitter. Dan, we're more visual. We got shout out to El Capitan, who says last week on the comments it was great to see faces. It's different than I've normally done it. I'll have like things that I'll be playing in the background because, reasons. But if this is something that people want to see ongoing, then I unfortunately have to wake you up at 6 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. And you're like, yes, I'm going to have to moisturize. I'm going to have to look my best, Dan. You look. I don't know about that. You look good. Like, people comment on how like magnificent your beard is. So
I'm conscious that much is true. Yeah, I did appreciate the comments. Like, oh, Dan was a little younger and a little thinner than we expected. It's like, oh, I'll take that. Thank you.
But do you think you've lost a lot of weight since your health?
I know I've lost about 10 pounds.
Yeah, so
I know I've lost some weight, and I just got a haircut, but I didn't trim the beard, so we got this weird thing where like the hair's short, but the beard's getting really puffy right now. So I gotta like even things out right now.
I think if you wear like a beanie, you could pull off a really kind of like cool hipster look.
Yeah.
Is that
that's still a little but I could probably get by.
How was your?
It'd be aging hipster look at this point.
Yeah, no. You can still pull off. How's your week been?
Insane. We are we just had a huge run of shows last weekend. We are opening a new theater on April 1st.
Nice.
So we're like 4 or 5 weeks away from that, and concert business is cranking, man. So it is. We had boxing last night.
Nice. Who was?
I'm definitely feeling it.
Who was the who was it? Competitors, or was it like an evening with a boxer?
It's amateur boxing.
Oh, right, cool.
We have like amateur boxing tournaments in the U.S. that are
nice.
Called the Golden Gloves, which kind of is like that pathway to the Olympic team.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we host like our local region for like 9 weeks, and then the winners go on to the nationals, and that's kind of that pathway to becoming a pro boxer.
That's really cool. I like that. We've been trying I've been doing a lot of work with Final Strike Games this week. Sorry, I should refer the Final Strike now. We've removed the games. It's just Final Strike. We've got a big milestone delivery today, so I've been flat out working on that this week, which is kind of hampered a lot of my MCOC grind, but it hasn't been too much of a bad thing to do that. Take a little bit of time away from it. Have you managed to play much this week?
You've been have I been? I was gonna say you maybe haven't been playing, but you've been cranking out the content. I was just reading your YouTube page.
I've been doing one video a day, but nothing really too major that I usually do.
I've really just been AQ, Alliance War, and Side Quest right now, and maybe a couple rounds of Arena before I fall asleep.
Yeah.
I have totally punted on Event Quest this month. I haven't gotten anything done more in Act 6 since we last spoke. So, just like I said, the Side Quest is kind of where it's at for me right now, just because of the gold.
Yeah.
And like I said, a couple rounds of Battlegrounds to get those milestones, and that's been about it for the past week.
I guess the theme of this week is going to come back to 2 words: time investment, or time investment versus what you get out of it. And that's something I think I've definitely learned this week. If you have a limited time, you are becoming incredibly picky, in a good way, incredibly picky about what you're doing versus what you're taking back. And I kind of like, that's a theme I've had to wrestle with in the last, say, month or two since we've had Thronebreaker difficulty put in, is making specific choices of what content I just don't have the time, and I'm not going to stress myself out with going, Kabam, say, you don't have to do everything. Well, that's fine. I had to kind of like brush that thought process of, okay, fine. If Kabam don't want me to do everything, I can't do everything now. I would love to get Thronebreaker difficulty, Cavalier difficulty, all the other lower difficulties done, which I still do, auto fighting to get the units back using free energy.
Yeah.
You got to take small W's wherever you can. I think what we'll do is we'll start off this podcast with what we technically finished off with the last one, and that was the Kabam Jax podcast from last week. That was great for us, great opportunity. It's been a long time coming. I am glad that we finally got there. I'm hoping that we can get more. We're going to start working, I think, this weekend. We've already talked about like how we might approach the is it RPG team, or is it the champions team?
Champions team.
Yeah. Which would be good. We kind of want to have a different approach than say other people have, and how we want to tackle the lines of investigation. So that's going to be quite fun. I think as well, we didn't really get. There's probably more questions we could have got out of the Kabam Jax podcast. So I guess we're open to do another one in the future with him.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a lot of fun to get to know Jax and his background, and you can see why he's good at what he does and where that whole forum persona comes from. So it's very cool to talk to Kabam Jax. And I know there's been some times like you have to get the questions like pre-approved, and I don't really think they didn't really veto anything, did they?
No.
Or just we had to provide the context of what we were going to be talking about in advance. It wasn't like we got a bunch of rules. It was like, they never said like, don't talk about this, don't talk about that. It was more just like a prep thing.
Yeah, I guess
people asked about that. I just wanted to.
Yeah, the kind of like put it into kind of bring it to the whole kind of asking process. It was back a long time ago. We had like a mega podcast. I think we'd probably do it at some set. I like the idea of going back to the questions that we had previously and go the podcast that wasn't the Kabam podcast that wasn't, because I looked over some of the questions that we had, and it was asking questions about why don't we see any more variants, and going into depths about innovation within the technology. And the problem that we had with those lines of questioning, which would have been an epic episode 100 podcast, is that when I was trying to pitch it to Kabam Jax, he was going, look, me and Dan have got these amazing questions. We really want to get a spicy episode. But then it was like, these might have to be, I've spoken with Kabam Mike about this, and they've been departmentized. They've been more better for departmentized, which then means that it stalls us trying to then kind of get the right podcast. And where we left it with my line of conversation with Jax was, look, as we're not getting anywhere, let's just do a community manager based podcast to get you done first off, and then try and see if we can then start kind of working with others. But I would have liked, if in a perfect world, it would be a case of Kabam Mike would go, oh, yep, here's the department's answering questions. Kabam Jax comes to the show and answers the questions based on what was pre-approved. For the future, we'll have to maybe look at that particular podcast questions, and we might have to departmentize those as well. We might take out some for the champions team. It's just, I'm not saying that there's been red tape. It's just been quite odd not to be able to kind of get to that point of answering questions and having to go, not a kickback, but these are better departmentized, so you're going to have to specifically go to those teams. Yeah,
it seems like they really want the experts in the specific domains answering the deep questions.
Yeah,
it's fine. It just, if you're talking to a champion designer and then, you're asking us, why didn't you guys ask about the gold economy? It's like, well, because that person doesn't have anything to do with that. So we're not going to ask them because they're not, they're just not going to speak on it. So you do have to cultivate the questions a bit, but that's fine. You can still get a lot out of that. And we are looking forward to it. So
we'll
bring you guys some more. I think the one takeaway I had was that I thought was very interesting is when we were talking to Jax about the Battlegrounds matchmaking, and he was talking about all the meetings they're having. And basically, there's a lot of different opinions about what should be done there. And sometimes you have those thoughts when you're like talking it through and you get somewhere. It's not like he went right out and told us what I think is going on. But my takeaway from what he was saying was that they know they're not in a perfect spot yet, but the solution may be more complicated than just pushing a button.
Yeah.
And my speculation is, and this is purely my speculation, is that they know they've got a problem with the Paragons being hurt by this prestige or account-based matchmaking, whatever it is, we don't really know. But they don't want to crush the smaller accounts and make the game mode totally unplayable either.
Yeah.
And they haven't figured out how to balance that out. Or maybe they've figured it out, but it's such a tech issue that it's going to take some time. So that is my speculation on what's going on there. I don't think it's an issue of them not recognizing that it's imperfect, because you see, like, it's the number one thing on the forums, right? There's probably like a half dozen threads on Battlegrounds matchmaking going on at any one time, and they never seem to reply. Or if they do, it's very rare. And when something like that is happening, it's usually because there's an answer they're not ready to tell us.
Yes.
Like, we have a historical, we do a historical look back on that. And usually when they're not talking about something, it's not because they haven't noticed it. It's because they're either thinking about it or they simply can't tell us what the answer is yet because it's too soon. So that's my suspicion as to what's going on there.
Yeah, it's such a tricky situation for Kabam because they have got what is, would I go out on a limb to say that it's the best mode that Kabam have added in since the conception of the game, which is like 7 years to get a game mode like that in. And it's tough because there's a lot of passion behind it. Like I will be honest, when it was put in, I didn't like it. But I didn't like it because I didn't feel a lot of the way it's being pitched was at a point that was fair, even playing field with stuff. And there's a lot of stuff still ringing true with that. I still feel very much correct on that opinion. But the thing about being passionate about something and you can criticize something is like when you end up being passionate and like something. And I like the mode. Well, now I like the mode. I didn't like it before. It's just a case of getting those fundamentals right. And as we said in previous podcasts, the getting out of this beta that we're in is prolonged beta. I don't know how long this mode will feel like it's in a beta for. It could be a case it's a year, 2 years, and that's just making those fundamentals right. And we've talked briefly about something at the start of the week when that thread started having a lot of popularity around time investment. And again, it seems to be like the focus point of the podcast today will be time investment. And I think this is probably the next topic that we can weave into quite nicely. Very interesting thread about somebody's time investment, trying to find that time to make progress in Battlegrounds. And feeling at a loss when you lose. Look, you win and lose in Battlegrounds. We all get it. But time investment and trying to make those little gains. If you feel you're hampered by it, you kind of look at it and go, well, I just invested an hour.
That's the problem is the mindset is huge, and it's very easy to play Battlegrounds for an hour and feel like you've got nothing done.
Yeah.
And that is very hurtful as a player, especially if your time is limited. Like, I only had an hour to play today, and I feel like I got nothing done. Like, that is a very bad feeling. And MCOC is so milestone driven.
Yeah.
That if you feel like you played for an hour and you got nothing out of it, it really, really, has a negative mental impact on you, which we always want to avoid. And I think DNA 3000 again, articulating it that the victory track is not where you want to put your mindset into, and he's really just going for those 48-hour milestones, which is probably what I'm doing. I would say I'm doing 5 or 6 matches every 2 days to get those milestones, maybe an extra 1 or 2 if I've got 10 minutes and I feel like it. But I'm not sitting down and saying, I want to go from silver 1 to gold 3 today.
Yeah.
Because I did that before and it really, really hurt.
Yes.
So I'm totally, as much as I can. It's really hard when the medals are shoved in your face by the game screen. And it's like, you're moving up, you're moving down. Yay, milestone. Like the game, message-wise, it's telling you it's all about the victory track. And I'm really trying to avoid that mindset of like, I'm going to move up today. I'm going to get a medal. I'm going to win. It's tough, but I find mentally it's better. I'm right now, I don't know where you're at, Rich. I am in silver 1 right now with 12 days left in the season as of recording this. So I'm feeling okay with that. We will see how far I get. I've won 5 out of the last 6, so I'm on a bit of a winning streak.
Yeah, mine's not as proactive at the moment. I think next week is the big push and getting back to normal with playing. I've just not had the time. It's just been like as soon as we finish the podcast, I go and grab lunch, and then I'm back on a last minute change to a project that's going to be done by I think about 6 p.m. UK time. So that's in about 6 hours and a bit time. So I've got to get that done. And I think over the weekend, everything that I was meant to do midweek is then thrusted to the weekend, as most things do, including repairing. Because I had I don't know what company it was. I got to put some complaints in about this company. I've got 2 monitors that sit above my on a pole, and it says a weight limit how much it can take. In any case, came in the morning and my camera had slammed to the floor. And the entire monitor arm with the double had come down and smashed the monitor. So this kind of 4 monitor setup that I have, it's just one thing that, and I thought I don't have the time to repair it now. So I was like, you know, I'll focus. I got to focus on this work. So next week is my push into Battlegrounds. You know, the same thing with Brian Grant. Like this week, I know he had car troubles and stuff, and it's like he wanted to kind of like I can imagine he was like, okay, well we'll do this content, I'll stream this, do this, and it's like with anybody, yourself, Dan, and like things happen.
Plans change. You gotta be nimble. You gotta be able to adjust. But, I think you're looking at it the right way. Though I think if you're gonna push in Battlegrounds, you want to push later rather than early.
Yeah.
In the season, you want to finish strong, and if you're going to play more rounds, play it once the really good players have moved on to Gladiator circuit. So at least you're not risking matching up with them, because we've got accounts at this level. Like we're going to be matching up with some pretty high level accounts. I mean, my prestige is now over 16,000, so. I could definitly get matched up with some monster accounts. It feels like, although it's not really the, I find it's not so much again the height or the depth of the roster. It's really the depth of the roster. It's like, okay, like I can deal with your Korg, or I could deal with your Ebony Maw, but I can't deal with your Absorbing Man and your Sauron, and your Mangog on top of that, especially once you start banning my Spider Ham. It's like, and you've got a 6-star Weapon X. There's
two things that I want to kind of go on for that. The thing that links into that one would be talking about how, like me now, I'm not making decisions about like upping my Relic prestige in place of kind of keeping my Summoner prestige at a certain level in order to see if potentially avoiding that. And then second point I want to go on to like talk to you about is how maybe your alliance are focusing on Battlegrounds. It's something that's definitely a discussion within our alliance. So that for the first point, relics wise, I've decided to keep my relic prestige incredibly low and think about my my prestige in general. That is keeping at a certain level, especially for alliance-based purposes, but I'm not making decisions at the moment about ranking up relics, mainly because I want to do some kind of like videos and testing and processing and things. But I'm keeping it low now just to see like about my matchmaking. Now, am I wrong? Am I at fault? Is that naughty for me to go, I'm not inflating my prestige anymore because I want to see about getting better matchups? Am I trying to exploit the system? But at the same time, if I'm, again, similar to what you're saying, if you are facing against monster accounts, it all falls into
people are definitely making these decisions, like you said, Rich. It's a weird thing where you're talking about sort of intentionally underpowering your roster, from a certain aspect. Like that seems weird to me. Personally, I am going the other way. I am trying to get my top 5 relics as high as possible. My next rank 4 will be Quicksilver, and the rank 4 after that will be infamous Dr. Doom, infamous Iron Man there. So those are 2 of the top 5 prestige champions in the game. Which, because of Battlegrounds, I can instantly sig 200. So that part's nice.
I love that store.
You love that store.
I love that store.
We can complain all we want about the moat, but that store is legit. And is saving people some money on those sig stones, which we love. First real free to play grind for 6 sig stones in really in the history of the game. That's something that's consistent, which is amazing. So I am going total prestige right now, but I'm also playing map 8. So that my alliance focuses on map 8. We're only plat 4 for war. We're not pushing that. So I do feel the need to help out with prestige as much as possible. As far as the alliance event, I haven't really seen much discussion about pushing that. I'm currently number 4 in the event in my alliance. So by playing, if I'm number 4 and I'm playing, less than, 10 matches a week, like, we're not going crazy here.
The reason that I wanted to bring it as a topic because it's interesting. Our alliance, and I don't know if this has been actioned. I know if it was something that we our alliance is on Discord, and we have great kind of structure and stuff. We have made so many changes. I think this is great because we've been diversifying what we're focusing on and doing, and also trying to reduce down grind, mental load, the extent of requirements for spending loyalty, glory, in order to kind of get ourselves through. I dropped down a little while ago to map 6. We ran 668. And it was just because I was not enjoying the path that I was assigned to, and it was just I wasn't vibing with it at all. So I just said, "Look, I need to take away the stress of this." And that's the great thing about it. They're very accommodating with that one. But
how is map 6 these days, anyway? Because it used to be a huge time suck.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's really fine.
It's Alliance Quest. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like it's not actually as bad as I could have. The buffs are nice. The routes with the what is it? It's not wraths. It's the two classes that can gain from a boost. The passive fury. Okay. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. I do it every day and I can't remember. It's a thing. So that's good. But there's now talk about potentially changing to focus our attentions more on the battleground side of things and dropping down instead. I think we're going to do. I think it was talked about doing 665. I think it was just something that was just to get feedback from people whether or not we'd do it. And yes, it would be a kick for Alliance Quest, but the reprioritizing the focus for Alliance, which I have seen in the forums, many people were asking about, well, are there any alliances out there that are Battlegrounds focused?
Right.
And
we used to have just Alliance Quest focused or Alliance War focused. Now you've got this third mode that you could potentially strategize for and really focus on.
It's an interesting shift in the ecosystem for the game because you're looking at there's now 3 types of alliances: Alliance War focused, as you said, AQ focused, Battlegrounds focused. There's not, because these are rank based modes for alliances, it's good in some cases because it changes up. It's just good to change up the dynamic. It's like, oh, there's a new kind of bunch of people. I can align my own personal taste of grind and farming in MCOC 2. We just need an incursion based one, and then I think I'd probably be like, incursions. I do like incursions.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That would be a rank mode for incursions. Oh yeah, I don't know whether or not they'd have sort of incursions do factor into alliance based events nowadays.
Yeah, they have started to add those to more of the events, which I think is good for the mode and gives you an excuse to break out the King Groot.
Yes, exactly. Love that guy.
Love that King Groot. So beefy in Incursions.
Yeah, so I just hope that there's there's more for the enjoy. Battlegrounds is still enjoyable. Not to take it away, but it's just getting to that point of going. There's a difference. It's like it's an imperfect game mode. I mean, look, nothing's ever perfect in the world, but something that's kind of up to the standard of, just up to the standard really. That matchmaking, the time investment. I remember, I cast my mind back to when we first had Battlegrounds, where you could literally lose a bunch of Battlegrounds matches and still benefit hugely. I think was it like season 1 or season 2, and Kabam changed it.
Yeah, they didn't want it to be so participation focused.
Yeah,
or I think maybe they thought people were just intentionally going in and losing matches.
Yeah,
it's like it always is, right, Rich? Like they give us something, and then we figure out how to exploit it.
Yeah,
and then things are changed.
Yeah, so he seems to be the way with it. I think that's it's a good point with Battlegrounds. We just need to get it done. I think that's good. We've covered the Battlegrounds elements of it. It's good talking about. I think next week we may kind of like, me and you might have to talk about like how our season has gone, especially as we wait for the
a recap.
Yeah, I think I can't remember if we'll have information. We may have a release note information. I can't remember on the time frame of it. It may be the following week.
Yeah,
quite possible.
Check the calendar real quick because the new Google doesn't want to load.
God damn it!
Okay. The tech always works except when you're live and people are looking over your shoulder. Yeah. So the new 'cause I think it's going to be the week after. I think it's going to be... Oh, no. February is about to end. So March 3rd, we would probably get release notes because the March events begin on Wednesday, March 8th, which is the Friday before would be March 3rd, which is, in fact, next Friday. Man, the days are we're just burning through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, my God. So we probably should have some release notes.
Well, so that's what we'll do in the podcast next episode is unpack that. Are you ready to go over to talk about Antman?
Yeah, let's talk about the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Lot happening. I know, Rich, you have some strong opinions, so let's get into this one.
Okay, so spoilers, first of all. If you haven't seen it, don't listen. Don't watch any further.
Hit the pause button.
Hit the pause button. Come back. And then we'll kind of, it won't become too scary. So, this is your last spoiler warning. Spoiler. Okay. So, right off the bat for me, I just find it a bit meh. It was a bit kind of like borderline. I think I see that from a lot of other people who've watched the film. It's very kind of like 50% down the middle. It was a movie to some.
It was a movie.
There's some things I liked about it, some things I didn't. I mean, I'll go over my first kind of a major gripe, which is the MODOK stuff. Now, I just want to point out that we have got Secret Wars at some stage, so I'm not going to rule out the potential that there is a better modeled, there's a better... the less comic relief. Not to say that MODOK has.
Did they play it as MODOK was too comic, not sinister enough for you?
He was sinister, okay. but it wasn't a case of like. It was where all the motivations were, because you haven't seen him for years. I would have liked to, and this I think for me is like, because we just jump ourselves into stuff. It was like kind of learning like, and yes, MODOK was over, or Darren was kind of like. More, he was doing bad things, sinister things and stuff like that, but you never really kind of like got I just didn't feel like there was kind of like, well, there was motivation, but it just didn't.
There wasn't a lot of timeouts in the action.
Yeah.
In the movie to explain what was going on, except for with probably Janet.
Yes. Yeah.
We learned a lot about Janet, and I forgot how good Michelle Pfeiffer is. Like, she's in a lot of ways, she's the MVP of the movie, and the story is very centered around her. And I always thought it was interesting when they had the previous Antman movie, because she's such a big name actress and she's in it for like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like Michelle Pfeiffer is a little overkill for the size of this part. So at least she got a lot more to do this time. But yeah, I kind of agree that it's like we're so instantly into the action. Like, there's very little between Scott and Hope in this movie.
Yeah.
Like that. Honestly, like, it felt like they took like 20 minutes out of the movie where like the characters actually talk to each other. And we just got action.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit where she was referring to she was looking. Oh yeah, me and Grandad Pym were doing this thing during some time, and or during the blip, during the time you were away, or during the blip or something, and I was like, okay, could you fill me in? Like, what were you learning? And it would have been nice to kind of like have, I don't know, like a flashback to her kind of like emotional about her father going and stuff, and like a mum going like, well, he's gone. You're going to have to accept that. I'm not going to accept it. I know he's stuck in the quantum realm and he needs my help, and kind of learning engineering and basically going to...
Because they basically like, Cassie's now a genius, which is
fine. It's fine.
Okay, she can be a genius. She's certainly surrounded by all these smart people, and these Takken could learn these things, but it's sort of just presented to us as like, oh, like, hey, we saw you for 5 seconds in Endgame, and now you can build a probe to go to the quantum realm. Cool. It's like, all right, like, Cassie's a cool character. Like, let's flesh that out. Like I say, this is a movie for me that there definitely are parts that I liked, but I totally agree with you that it didn't have the time to breathe and as much character development as I would have liked for some of these characters.
And that's the same thing with like the quantum realm stuff. Like, it was like, hi, we're a bunch of people and we've been destroyed. Here we all are. We've been revolting for years. We're okay. We've started revolutions, lots of revolutions. Now we're running and hiding.
Like, the quantum realm for me was like it was like a mashup of the visuals of Doctor Strange and Avatar, and then you've got the revolution from Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. And it's just a case of like bringing those things in. I know they've got a lot of stuff to kind of to explain and tie in, because we're now going to go in a different direction with stuff. But then it's all about that, that the time we had with Janet and kind of like her learning about what the Conqueror's what the Conqueror's intentions are. But I would have liked to have known that at that particular point of going like, when she's talking about what he of like, okay, now I've helped him out and now I've done this and I've upset him, and now Janet's run away, then the stuff between the events of there and the events of her explaining what she's done over the years to affect these quantum realm peoples. Because it's like, yes, I know she's basically helped him out get his shit back together, but then we don't see all the stuff where the freedom fighters, like, what she's done to the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Her revoluting.
How big a deal was she there?
Because she was. I was to say she was
a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and she was doing I did revolutions with these people and fought back. Well, that's again like talking about the animosity. Like, we don't get to see that the audience is kind of not treated to the animosity between the Conqueror and Janet. It's like, oh, they're against one another. They don't like each other. And okay, it still goes back to the sphere, but then there's the stuff she explained about between the events of the sphere and her returning back to Earth prior to the blip, and the events of Antman 2. It's just, again, we've got this time of, again, coming back to what I said earlier, can you fill me in with stuff? Just, again, for character motivation, which I think is another issue that the movie suffers with that. It's not necessarily, I'm not being rude about this movie too much. It's just a case of, like, I would have loved more.
Yes.
And
I would think this is, a good what's the word? Corollary. For all those syllables. It reminded me a bit about X-Men 3 in that way, where it's like, okay, I kind of like some good action scenes, some good characters, but like it needed some more time. I needed to see more motivation. It needed to breathe a little bit more. It definitely felt like we were rushing from big battle to big battle. We like these characters. Like, let's spend some more time with these characters.
Yeah.
And get to know them a little bit better. Because, like I said, we didn't get much between Scott and Hope in this movie, and really, like, their relationship is the core of the first two.
Yeah.
Them coming together, and we kind of it feels like the movie was just kind of like, and they're together now. Everything's cool.
Yeah. I think as soon as
more there.
Yeah, for me, it's as soon as Jonathan Majors comes into it, and you see a lot of his interaction, it's that's when I started kind of like enjoy it. Jonathan Majors, this Kang role he is amazing.
He is. I mean, you want to talk about good casting?
Yeah.
Like, if you say, okay, he's the big bad for the next however many movies, he's the final boss. Definite final boss material. Jonathan Majors crushing it, and it's cool that we're gonna get him to. You're gonna get to see him play all these different versions of Kang, like the Kang from Loki, the He Who Remains, is a different Kang than the one we saw in Ant-Man, and a different one than the ones we're going to see going forward. So it's like,
thing is, with the least amount of scenes, I feel I know more about how they're doing Kang than I did with, like, the Quantum Realm. How is so weird. Like,
he gets so much out of every line. He makes you feel it. Like, there's some actors, and he's certainly one of them, where, like, every word has weight. And it's like, okay, I believe what you're saying. What you're saying has more meaning because you're the guy delivering it. So, yeah, I'm super excited to see him in action more. And, overall with, the movie being whatever it was, I think I enjoyed it a little more than you do, but I certainly see where some of your criticisms are coming from. I really enjoyed the two cutscenes at the end. Those got me very excited. Seeing the Council of Kang.
Yes.
Like, that's what we're talking about.
But this is the thing. Fill me in. And and as I said, like, the least amount of scenes that I've seen of Jonathan Majors, I've probably, between Loki 2 and all the other things he's been in, have been a segment of about 30 minutes total. I know more about what's going on for our future than I do with the Quantum Realm stuff, the motivation of characters. It's like you kind of get the motivation of what's going on. You got the Council of Kang. They are basically playboys of time, and they're like, we want to do whatever.
Playboys of time. I love that.
Yeah,
so perfect.
Yeah,
and they were clearly watching our Kang in the Quantum Realm. And that part was very interesting to me. Like, they were aware of him. They were monitoring. It really shows, like, when you talk about this multiversal war, like, they're all keeping an eye on each other. They don't trust each other.
Exactly. And they obviously exiled one that said, look, you should not be playing about with time, which we knew about how they were playing about with time, with just a small snippet on Loki 2. Again, like, this is why it's just so good what they're doing with it. Similar to the Thanos stuff in building him up in the first... Was it the first Avengers film? Age of Ultron, sorry.
Age of Ultron. Well, no, he's at the
end of Avengers.
Of Avengers 1, where he just smiles, and then he gets, like, one line in Age of Ultron. Fine, I'll do it myself. But that's all we needed. Like, that's all we needed. Or, like I said, I'm so excited for Loki season 2 now. It was so great to see that they do the crossover from the TV show into the movie. But, like, he doesn't even say anything in that cutscene. He just kind of looks at them. Yeah. Like, all right, well, they're in trouble. Loki and Morpheus are in, what is it? Is it Morpheus? Morbius?
Morbius. I want to say Morbius. Is it Morpheus? Oh no, it's Morpheus, isn't it? It's not Morbius. Yeah. Morbius is the Jared Leto. It's so funny.
Mobius.
Yeah, Mobius.
Yeah, Mobius. There we go.
I should think Mobius.
Thank you, IMDb. My brain stopped working this morning. But yeah, it's like just that little teaser gets you so amped up for Loki season 2. Because really, that was my only criticism of Loki season 1 was I needed more than 6 episodes, and you stopped the show.
Yeah.
Once I got really, really excited, and we met He Who Remains.
Yeah.
So that's.
Okay, it was
great to get more Loki in our lives.
Yeah, some good things about Quantumania. I love the right at the very end, the large Scott when he went large, he went big. Yeah. I liked it, but I thought this could be a great scene if you had inside the helmet, like the cams inside the helmet, because
they did that so effectively with Robert Downey Jr.
Because that emotion,
in Iron Man, you forget how often they went to that and what it added to those movies.
Our word is our bond, and I thought, this is going to be good. But then it's like after a while, just did, and I thought some great inside the shot of kind of like Scott amped up, angry would have just like made that scene just kind of like really, really good, emotional, intense,
right? Because it's a little detached when it's like super zoomed out and he's wearing the helmet.
Yeah.
Like, and let's see the guy upset, about the betrayal and his daughter and all these things.
Yeah, I just would have liked a little bit more from that. But it was like just an odd. It's annoying in some ways because that final kind of like fight where Kang's been taken by the showing how pissed off Kang was and him destroying all of those quantum realm revolutionary freedom fighters.
Right, when he just starts straight up disintegrating people.
Love that ferocity. Yep. I think if this was something that was on like 616 Earth or back on Earth surface, it would have been a bit more kind of like it would feel really close to home. And I think like for me, I'd just be like, oh, this is just so. And we'll get to there's a point I want to get to at the end in a moment about how Infinity War and Endgame with peril and loss become so much. I think that's why a lot of the Marvel Cinematic audience is kind of like is really looking out for these heroes losing. But get back to the point about Kang destroying stuff and being taken away, and get into that final fight between him. All of his tech is kind of, I don't think, removed from him, so I don't think he can properly access his powers, and it's like becomes a fist fight between Kang and Scott. There's a funny moment where he gets hit, and he does this kind of like, because I've seen Brian Fantana be fighting a bear and fighting an Anchorman. The problem is I was like, oh my god, I'm starting to laugh here because I'm thinking of him kind of like when he does this thing where he kind of goes wide like this with his arms. For people listening, it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a fists out, both out to the side, like you're kind of like you look like monitor arms, like just like swinging. He does that moment, and it's like I just started laughing in the cinema because I just reminded him fighting a bear and doing the news fighter fight. The news anchor fight. That's the thing. But that was a good moment.
Yeah, I see. I liked that final confrontation between Kang and Scott because that was a little more brutal. They did have the helmets off.
Yeah.
So you could, it really felt like, we might lose Scott here.
Yes.
Like that was really where they were able to ramp up the tension. I thought that scene in particular was really good, and then Wasp coming in to save the day, that was all great. I really like the tension in that final moment, and where you're like, okay, like Scott might have to sacrifice himself, like he's in a position where he might not be able to win. He's just trying to ensure that they both lose.
Oh, I love that line. That's a fantastic line.
That was really good. I felt like it did end strong in that way.
Yeah.
Where that final confrontation was really strong into the, return home, where he, all of a sudden he's doing the Baskin Robbins thing, the Mr. Cotter theme's playing, and he's like, wait, did I screw that up? Like, he said if he failed, like, everything would be way worse than if he won. Like, what if that was a bad idea? So, like, I like that they didn't just brush over the fact that it's like, oh, like, there might be some repercussions for this. Like, I don't know the whole story here. And then we get those great cutscenes. So I guess the really good last 15 minutes for me.
Yeah, I'm a bit indifferent about the ending, and it's just that it goes back to that point I was making earlier about peril and failure. One of the problem that we've got is a lot of time when people kind of like within, have watched Marvel movies, they'll kind of talk about well, what are kind of good movies, and it will always be a case of, remember Infinity War and Endgame, and you go, well, what about Infinity War? Well, people lost. And what about Endgame? Well, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man dies, Tony Stark dies. Also, Black Widow dies, but she's always seems to be brushed off for some reason. But her sacrifice is great. I've just remembered there's something else I need to kind of like raise in a minute, which I think is a quite funny kind of like parallel of story arcs. But this peril thing is, I was thinking like, what to me would be really good if they ended this third Ant-Man film, and it would either be Scott and Hope, or Scott singular, being trapped in the quantum realm. And like them unable for a length of time to go and access, and then it kind of like puts more emphasis on Cassie kind of explaining her engineering ability and Henry's ability to then get back to the quantum realm to then get Scott back up there. Or it's a case that Henry and Janet, which their love is kind of like explained within the film. They sacrificed themselves, or they had sacrificed themselves at the end. They died, saving everybody, or they exist as the characters within the quantum realm. And again, it's between Scott and Hope to then try and get them out of the quantum realm again, and something where maybe somebody dies unexpectedly. But that's what I was looking for, is maybe something a bit more for it. The sacrifice was greater than the story, for the greater good type thing. That for me is where I kind of felt like the story could have been really, really good, because then you can expand and go different ways. You could then have a Disney Plus show looking at the quantum realm, from like Ant-Man in the quantum realm. Or there's something of a twist, and we see Black Knight for the first time, and that again changes the story dynamics. But these films will go in the way they want to go, and obviously they've got to tie into things like Secret Wars. The parallel story thing I wanted to mention was, it's quite funny that you've got Ant-Man who basically. He's basically the reason that they use the quantum realm to save everybody in Endgame. But what he might have done is actually doomed everybody by saving the life of the Conqueror. Killing the Conqueror.
Yeah, it's like the Scott, you +1 -1.
Yeah, exactly.
Even, buddy.
Yeah.
The universe seeks balance. Thanos taught us that.
Exactly.
But I can see where you're coming from, Rich. And yeah, it's like, as much as we love these characters, like if everyone is plot armored all the time, there's no real tension in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get what you're saying there.
So I'm unsure how this is because I've just nearly finished reading the Secret Wars graphic novel. And some of the way that the stories kind of go with that, I'm kind of thinking about how they're going to do the film, because it's a really tricky thing. I don't know if you've read the any of the stories.
I haven't read the whole Secret Wars. I'm familiar with kind of the overview of what's going on, like the different realities.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four are a huge part of that. So like we've got a lot more to learn. But they didn't do a direct adaptation of the Infinity Gauntlet.
No, exactly.
Infinity War Endgame.
Well, Adam Warlock wasn't there.
Yeah, no Adam Warlock, no Silver Surfer. No let's fight Thanos on a giant space throne.
Yeah.
Nebula doesn't get the gauntlet, but you still get the core of it. It's like, okay, like I'm going to collect these gems. I'm going to wipe half of life in the universe out of existence. The remaining people aren't going to like that. Let's go. They took the big plot point. So.
I guess that's the thing. If they go Secret Wars, if Secret Wars happens and like the Kangs, it's like the way that the quantum realm is used for navigation of time travel. That's going to be is that going to something Kang eliminates? Will Kang look to destroy one of the Kangs? Sorry, or I don't know how we kind of like do their Kanganites. One Kanganite destroys the quantum realm in order to stop any kind of like remote form of time travel, which will be a manipulation based. Or will that be something that they'll have to use? But that's the thing. The Council of Kangs know about the quantum realm, which was used last time as a means to eliminate Thanos, which he was unaware of. So the Kangs will be more aware of like, okay, well, we're going to do this on you, but you can't travel underneath the time stream. There's a lot of things to think about how we're going to do that, and also like how incursions might, because we haven't seen an incursion per se. I mean, is there going to be a point where there's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, they've certainly hinted at it.
Yeah, they've definitely hinted at it. So we could see, if anybody doesn't know what an incursion is, it's not something in MCOC. It is when basically two worlds are going to be. If you've played Marvel Future Revolution, that's where they do it. But two worlds basically colliding together, and the whole thing that starts off Secret Wars in the graphic novel version I've just recently been reading is that an arc is created by Mr. Fantastic with a lot of people on it, and then they kind of they look to zip, and then stuff happens, and trying to explain how that all works is another job in itself. So the potential for, I mean, look, there's lots of potentials for this movie. The tying up of Antman. I don't know if this will. I don't know if, depending on box office performance, whether or not they'll actually do anything more. I kind of think Antman would be good for like a Disney Plus series exploring something in the quantum realm, if I'm being perfectly honest on this. Or maybe it's a point of like, we won't see him now until Secret Wars. Yeah,
I mean, I think Cassie's probably the character they want to focus on with the Young Avengers, and this is, a lot about introducing her and making sure that she has powers and that people are attached to her going forward. I think we're going to probably be seeing her more than anyone else.
That's true.
The immediate future, yeah. As far as incursions, like, is that a Loki season 2 thing? Is that the next Doctor Strange movie? It seems like those are a couple of likely places for an incursion to take place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was, for me, it was a good movie. It's kind of, for me, it's like a 50% movie. It's a 5 out of 10. It's good to kind of like end chapters and start new ones, because I think in some ways that this seems to be a victim of Marvel Studios want to launch the new progression in their story structure at the expense of Antman, because it's like, for me, looking at it, kind of like, did we have to go to the quantum realm? So is this a case of like going, okay, well, Janet's story with all of this was like, did she have to have met Kang? Is this a case of like, this third story has been thrusted there, and they've just gone, well, we need to introduce Kang. What do we do? Well, I don't know. We'll just slide into a third Ant-Man movie and then take it from there because it's in the quantum realm. But I guess the thing, it would have been cool to go. It's also a bit weird to go, because we've noticed time travel through the quantum, the quantum realm. I guess no, he was going to use it, wasn't he? He was going to use the quantum realm time travel elements and travel through it to then get to a different time structure. I can't remember now what Kang's motivations for using the quantum realm.
He was going to use it as a jumping off point.
Yeah, okay. So
do whatever he wanted.
Well, that does make sense, but then it's like that should have been, that would have been a good kind of point to launch off the story structure of the movie to kind of get more of a. I don't know if he did. If I didn't pick up on that one, then that's on me. But I would have liked that to be more of a kind of a key mention, or kind of like talking about wouldn't it be great if we could just go back in time and well, no, he does actually, because then he does mention it whilst they're in prison. But I kind of feel if it was like really rooted in the start about, or made a big thing about time travel very early on, you kind of get the idea. Maybe I'm being a bit silly here with kind of like trying to pick holes in something. It's maybe that
It's just a comic book movie, Rich.
No, I think
too hard.
It's just the MODOK stuff. If the MODOK stuff wasn't in there, the kind of comedy relief stuff around that, and I'm like, oh, MODOK's going to be vicious as hell, and it's like this big head going,
right, yeah,
and seeing MODOK's butt. Did I really need to see MODOK's butt? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dan.
Well, we got Guardians 3 coming up.
That I'm looking forward to.
There's more to look forward to. There's a lot on the schedule. Like you said, Secret Invasion, Guardians 3 coming up.
Yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse, a lot of good Marvel stuff coming up.
Yeah, so that's good. I just hope this kind of like, is this Phase 5 or this is? I can't remember if this is launch phases 5 or is it
last Phase 4. I've
lost track. Yeah.
Since Infinity War. Okay, Wakanda Forever was the last of Phase 4.
Okay, not for me, not the strongest Phase 5 launching, but I think it can get stronger. We'll have to see. And I think on that point, if there's anything, what are you up to next week, Dan? What are you hoping to be up to?
What am I hoping to be up to? Just working a lot. Got to make some progress on the side quest. Got to spend those tickets. Got to get that gold.
Yeah.
I don't know. Other than that, the rework or re-release of Kirby and the Kirby's Return to Dreamland is coming.
Nice.
Today.
A lot of there's a lot of Nintendo stuff has been kind of launched. I mean, the Zelda game and stuff that's coming at some point.
I have a 7-year-old with a Target gift card that he's been holding on to since Christmas, and he is freaking out.
Nice.
And cannot wait to go to Target to, he's only 7. It's a new Kirby game to him, and he's been seeing the trailers, and like when the Nintendo Direct stuff came out, he was very excited to see all the teasers of that, because he is a monster Kirby fan. So he's going to be making a trip to Target.
Yeah, it's just like it's great to be a kid and kind of like when I was playing Bomberman on N64, Perfect Dark or GoldenEye, I was like, this was like and I was like, I need to get this, or PlayStation. When all these things like come out for the first time, or I think also games that like that's the excitement I kind of missed as an adult, because you got stuff like work.
Yep.
And mortgages and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's home repairs.
Home repairs.
Just redid a bathroom, just redid a bedroom. Going to be moving on to the kitchen soon. It never ends. Right?
Yeah, true. And on that ending point, me and Dan say to you, drink the ooze. Drink the ooze.
Stay hydrated, kids. Stay hydrated.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you in the next edition of the podcast. Bye-bye.